are standard 2-bedroom, 4 units, and I think that those ought to be included. Remember, these people are also paying as part of their taxes that funding for refuse pickup. But the bottom line is this is not big enough to be considered an apartment building like the Cass Apartments or anything like that. I think that's just a little more reasonable than 7.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Are you ready to vote on this? On the board, please.
Eight, 10, 13, and 16. Number 11.
The motion is carried. Okay, now on eliminating the 4 large item constraints. So any discussion on that? Okay, District 2, District 5, okay. Councilmember from Crosse.
Right. I've had a lot of opportunities to talk to students living in the community about the new garbage ordinance, and many of them expressed concerns about the 4-item limit during student move-out specifically. You reported to me that they were concerned to having to get rid of all these items at once, especially if they all live in a large apartment building. And what they were really concerned about is whether or not they need to get rid of their beds at different times to accommodate a strict limit of 4. So when you think about it, they could potentially be left bedless if they have to, move out and kind of ration in a certain sense furniture. So I really believe that students want to take responsibility for their furniture, and by putting a limit on the large items, we're really taking away an opportunity for them to responsibly dispose of these items. And having a somewhat arbitrary limit on the large items, I don't think it really helps the community, and I think it would really contribute to having these items actually sit out on the curb for a longer time. So, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Swans?
I need a little help in terms of, do you know what paragraph we're talking about here?
The definition. It's in the definitions under quantity of large items are limited to 4 per pickup. It's actually in the memo from you regarding an ordinance to repeal and recreate, et cetera, et cetera. Over the last several months, the Board of Public Works reviewed, and then down to one of the bullet points, its quantity of large items are limited to 4 per pickup.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Mr. Segrist?
This is kind of a bad time to be changing this. The problem isn't just in the student area. The problem is in every single area of the community, and often at the end of the month. As Mr. Hexum pointed out night before last, if people can go to Menards and buy a piece of furniture and drag it home, then they can get rid of it as well. That if you want to have an ordinance that's written by the landlords, then go ahead and vote for this. Otherwise, you should vote no and stick with the Board of Public Works report.
Anybody else? Mr. Olson?
Thank you. Would we be better off lifting that just during the month of May when the kids are moving out and leave it that way the rest of the time? And I guess I'd make that amendment.
Okay, so the amendment is? Let the maker state it, please.
Okay, and I need a little help with that time frame. I can't remember when they move out.
So the motion is related to the 4 items.
Yes,
That
if we were to lift that 4-item just for that month that they're moving out, because each college moves out at a different time frame. And I need some time, or some help with that exact time. And I'm hearing the 15th through the 15th. And Catherine wants to add something to that, so.
Thanks. Point of information, but I believe this year was a bit earlier, so you're looking from the second weekend in May, really. And I think the 15th might be a little later than you would want, so to make that effective, I would probably suggest setting a different time frame than the 15th, maybe the 7th or the 6th through June 6th.
I would suggest that in the case of something that has flexible dates in relation to it, and it does affect not only the University of La Crosse, it also affects the Viterbo move out and also the possibly Western. So my suggestion would be during student move out and in period, and so that you're not pinning it down to dates in an ordinance. Would that be acceptable, Mr. Attorney?
Well, you get to decide what kind of amendment, what language you specifically want to add to the ordinance. And the legal department does not have a specific opinion on what specific language you should craft. But if you are asking, we would prefer that there are specific dates because it's a definitive start and a definitive end, and it's easier to enforce that way.
Okay.
Madam President?
Yes, Mr.
Madam,
Wilson.
I'll change that amendment to May 1st through June 15th.
Okay. Okay. With the permission of the body. Anyone else? No. Yes, who? Mr. Hexon. The buttons aren't working.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I could not be in favor of a, for what it's worth, grace period for the students. We tried a grace period, as many of you recall, with alternate site parking, which failed. I'm skeptical that this type of a grace period for the move-out period would be any more successful. Thank you.
Mr. Farmer?
Those of us inside Losey Boulevard, we have many student rentals. And I think it's incumbent upon the city, because if we don't, you're just going to have this stuff sitting over a great period of time. And you're going to have it scattered, 4 in the front, 4 in the back, 4 next door. And I'm always reminded, it's fine to want government to operate in a business-like manner, but if it had a profit associated with it, business would do it. We get the unprofitable things. And this is, I can sense Mr. Hexman's frustration, this is eminently unprofitable and perhaps in some fashion unfair to those taxpayers who don't live in these districts. But this is a problem, and it isn't going to go away. And they leave. They're short-termers. They've left, they're gone, and it's there. And I think just like condemning decrepit buildings falls to the city and not to the business world, this is one of those things we get to do simply because we're a city, and we enjoy the benefits of the student population. There's the 8,000 people who are spending money here, feeding themselves, living here, and keeping 3rd Street alive. I think this is just one of those things that fall to us, and we'll have a cleaner city if we do this. We'll have a much dirtier, our city's getting dirtier all the time. And that's the one depressing thing I've noticed over the last 20, 30, or 40 years. We get dirtier and dirtier continuously. And we don't need to do this.
I understand there's nobody else wishing to speak at this stage, so on the board, please. This is on the amendment of time, which would be from May 1 to June 15, as I have it at the moment. Is that correct? Yeah. Ms. Johnson?
Can I just ask a question?